Welcome to the Posh Podcast. Thank you all for being here. Beautiful guest today is Melanie, GracefulKnit here on Poshmark. Good morning and welcome. Thanks for being here today.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Good morning.
So we know you as GracefulKnit here on Poshmark. You are the conductor of the very successful Trendy Treasures Train, and you are our tie-dye loving friend. But I'd love to start off by you telling us a little bit about who Melanie is off Poshmark and outside of GracefulKnit.
Sure, I would love to do that. Of course, I have people that call me Grace whenever I popped into their shows, and I was always one of those that's like, my name's Melanie, and I'm like, you know what? If I'm using the screen name GracefulKnit, I have to be prepared that people are going to think my name's Grace, which I'll get to that in a few minutes of why my Poshmark name is GracefulKnit. But yeah, Melanie, I am a mom of 3 children. And when I say children, one of them is actually an adult child right now. And then I'm married to my husband now for, oh my goodness, 2011. Do the math for me, girlfriends. I don't even know. What is that? 13. This year will be 13 years. I don't know. Something like that. And we live in a small little central Pennsylvania town out in the middle of nowhere in the country. I go into, which I'll talk about my work here in a few, but I go into the city of Harrisburg to work a couple days a week. My oldest baby is 20 years old and he is a sophomore in college, but I say sophomore senior because he's doing a 2-year program to get his associate's degree in auto collision. And he's already been offered several jobs. So we're proud parents. And then my youngest son, who was my middle baby, he is a senior in high school. So we're doing the whole like senior college, senior high school thing this year. It's crazy, guys, I'm telling you. And then my daughter, Mallory, that's Mitchell Marshall. I have Mitchell Marshall, Mallory. I'm Melanie. My husband's Dan.
So Poor Dan. Oh, that's amazing.
And then there's Dan.
And there's Donald, the cat.
We do have Donald the cat, Belle the dog, Nala the dog, Sunny the rabbit, Lulu the rabbit. So we've...
I was trying to find a D for Dan. So we got D for Dan and D for Donald. At least he's got the cat. That's the alliteration for him.
He's got the cat. And he didn't want the cat at first, but now him and the cat are like buds. You know how that ends up working out.
Sure
so
do.
But yeah, and then my daughter Mallory, she's in 7th grade. My husband and I have her together. And then my sons, of course, are my biological children, and they're his adoptive children through me. So so that's our family.
So I heard Melanie the mom, and I heard Melanie the wife. Tell me more about who. I know it's hard when we have these identities that take up so much of who we are to find like who we are outside of mom and wife. So what else can we know about you? What do you like? What do you not like? What do you do for fun?
Yeah, so I am an avid reader. I love to read. Historical fiction is probably my favorite, but sometimes I think when we read historical fictions, we need a palate cleanser because sometimes they can be a little heavy. So I'll read fun little like romance rom-coms as well. I don't read anything that like is going to keep me up at nighttime because my mind is really busy. I work a full-time job. I'm a mom, a wife, so I usually like they're a little bit light. And then I also scrapbook. I've been an avid scrapbooker for years, probably about 25 years. And for a little time period, I sold it as like a little side hustle to help through some years of being a young mom. And I go away on weekend retreats 4 times a year to scrapbook all weekend with the girls. That's that's what I love to do. That's my long live paper. I just saw that. Yes. Everybody, if you're a scrapbooker or you're a crafter, you know that there's a thing called a paper obsession or a sticker obsession. Yeah, so it's, we just hoard like all the pretty papers to use in our scrapbooks with the hopes that we're going to use them someday. So if anybody's a scrapbooker, you know exactly what I'm saying. But yeah, so that's Melanie. That I do as my mental outlets. Those are the 2 things that I enjoy the most. So yarn, yeah, I see Kara saying yarn is mine.
Well, that's a fun fact. I didn't know that about you, that you are an avid scrapbooker. I knew that you were an avid reader. You talk a lot about that, or you always find some cute little reading shirts and whatnot. Yeah. So maybe before I ask you the next question, do you have a 1 or 2 top reading picks and maybe a scrapbook hot tip suggestion?
Sure. So one of my absolute favorite books that has stayed with me for many, many, many years is called Redeeming Love, by Francine. I think it's Francine Rivers. I'll have to double check that, and I'll have Lisa put it into whenever she posts. And I didn't realize until just a couple days ago that it's a movie. I had no clue. So as soon as I get a couple hours of downtime, I'm going to sit down and watch it, because I love the book. I always say I will not watch a movie before I read the book. I just refuse to do that. So I do like to read Colleen Hoover. So I'm like, okay, I got to get through Verity before I go and see the Verity movie. Even though I said I don't like to read things that are going to keep me up at night, I'm still going to read that one because I do like Colleen Hoover. And Lucy Score, she's one of my favorites. She's a local author here in Pennsylvania, in Central PA, but she's become like world known now. So, but she writes like the fun little romance novels. But yeah, so that's my reading. And then scrapbooking, oh goodness. So when I first started scrapbooking, I just wanted to make things look pretty, and I didn't really think about like the photo safe side of it. And I had pictures that were ruined because this is going way off topic, but there's like those old like sticky albums that you use that you stick your pictures into. The stickiness creates acidity, so it'll ruin your pictures. So that's my biggest scrapbooking tip, is if you're going to do it, invest just a little bit to get stuff that's safe for your pictures, because the reason why you do it is to show off those pictures and to preserve your memories.
We know who you are, and obviously you are GracefulKnit on Poshmark, but we talk a lot about, we started right about the same time where we were like shopping a little bit and then doing live shows. So walk us back of how you went from like being the mom, having a full-time job, getting into Poshmark as a shopper, being a live seller, and now running like one of the most successful drains on Poshmark.
Well, that is so sweet. Thank you. Yeah, the Trendy Treasures is special to us, but yeah. So my why of why I started Poshmark, I think we all have a why, and I think sometimes our why can shift a little bit. So my why has shifted a little bit, but my original why is I went on a weight loss journey to get healthy. My mom and my mother-in-law, I would remember them getting down on the floor and playing with my children. And I got to a point that I'm like, I'm going to have grandkids someday, and I'm not going to be able to do that, because I was very overweight. So I just decided, but I always said like losing weight has to be a decision that you make. Somebody cannot tell you to lose weight, to get healthy, to be active. And you just be like, okay, they're telling me to do this. It has to be something that you want to do, because it takes a lot of self-motivation. So I went on a weight loss journey and lost about 45 pounds. And what happened is, I'm still trying to, but I'm about 5 or 7 below where my original goal was. So I'm trying, just to be happy with that. But I went upstairs. It was like this past April, threw on some like spring summer clothes, and I'm like, I feel really frumpy right now, because all of my clothes were big on me, and everybody was like, oh, tuck them in or do this or roll it down or do that. It wasn't working, and I started getting like a little depressed about it, because I thought I did all this hard work to lose this weight, but I don't feel good about it. So I literally was sitting in my chair, in my reading chair. I call it my reading chair. And I just Googled like affordable places to purchase clothes at, because I thought, I already had like a wardrobe full of clothes, and I thought, how can I revamp my wardrobe and not spend like hundreds or thousands of dollars? And Poshmark popped up. I'm like, all right, let me just see. So I'm like browsing, and I'm like, what's this live show business? Guys, I was green. I had no idea. So I clicked on a live show. This was probably like last February, so almost a year ago. So I clicked on a live show, and I saw her pop into the chat. Sunshine and Silk and Tracy Joy 415 were doing a co-hosted show. And I know, it was so cool. And I started watching them like, I'm like, they're having fun. I'm like, this is really cool. So I purchased a couple things from both of them. After it explained to me that I was going to pay shipping at both, I'm like, I'm already on a roll now. And my daughter came out, and she's like, what are you doing, Mama? So I showed her, and she's like, Erica, which is Sunshine and Silk, was selling, I don't know if it was athletic stuff. She may have even pulled out a Lululemon piece, and she was like, Mama, I want that. I was like, all right, swipe. I'm like, like $7. I'm like, yeah, I can handle that. I'm like, so her and I were like swiping up a storm. I think between the two shows, I spent like $100. Our boxes came and it filled us both with so much joy. We were so excited. So it was really cool. And of course, like I just kept going with it, but then the stock, yeah, swipe happy. That's right. But then I thought, you know what? I'm an introvert or an extrovert. Yeah, introvert. You guys are like, yeah, right, Mel. I'm an extrovert. Like, I could do this. And I have this whole closet of clothes that I could maybe sell. So I'm going to get on and do a show or two and be done, but I'll get rid of what's in my closet. I thought, but I need a couple other things other than just my extra larges and my XXLs that I have. So my mom and my sister, who were both smaller than me at that time, gave me some smalls and mediums, and I started like self-promoting myself, and I did my very first Posh show because I wanted to extend the love back out to people and give them some good deals to be able to freshen up their wardrobe or whatever the reason was for on shopping. So that's why I started my live selling journey. And like I said, I was just going to do one or two shows. That was my plan. Just to be able to get stuff out of my house.
Love that Poshmark so typically starts out of need, whether we are shopping or whether we are selling. It's like, okay, well, I lost weight, so I need new clothes for this body. I have all these clothes that no longer fit this body, so what a great way to exchange. Like, okay, just a cheap way to get new clothes and a great way to make a little bit of money back from these old clothes.
Yeah.
And how cool that Sunshine and Silk and Tracy Joy were your first show.
My why has shifted a little bit, so if you don't mind, I'll go ahead and share that.
Please do.
For a couple seconds. So of course that was my original why. But you might say like, okay, Mel, so you said you're going to do one or two shows and sort of scoot off and continue to be a supporter. My why quickly shifted whenever I started seeing the love and support that came from Poshmark. I didn't realize at that time that the point that I was at in my life, I was ready to have an identity outside of being a mom, a wife, and a full-time working mom and wife. And my identity through the friendships that I started making on Poshmark started changing for the better. I started making friends that I never, ever, ever thought that I would make. And it's sort of funny. My kids say to me like, Mom, you always told us through gaming and stuff that we couldn't communicate with people that we don't know. And you're on Poshmark making friends with people you don't. I'm like, but we see each other. Like we're texting. They're like, oh, you're texting? You gave them your phone number? I'm like, listen, I'm in a mid 40-year-old adult and my children are but it's really, really, really funny. I say like we have the cognitive to know and that's why I had to tell them, like I have the cognitive and the life experiences to know if this was like they were going to show up at my home.
Right.
So, but anyways, yeah, so that's why I continued on Poshmark, because I started developing relationships, not at first with the other sellers, but with buyers. And I will still have a lot of those, I call my OGs, come into my shows and say hello, even if they're not into shop and support. In that sense, they're into shop and support from just a, hey, we want to say hi. Jen, and I'm so sorry, I can't think of Jen's full Poshmark name, but she had knee surgery. We're like, girlfriend, let's chat about it. How are you doing? How are you feeling? You know, she was, you know, just hanging out and chilling with us. But there's quite a few like that. I've met a whole crew of Pennsylvania girls that we keep saying we're going to have a Pennsylvania meetup. But yeah, so that's what it's become. And then of course that started transitioning into making friends with sellers as well. Lisa being one of the very first.
And I remember the very first time you came into one of my shows because I called you Grace. I'm like, oh, Grace, thanks for shopping. And then Tammy had come into the chat and she's like, hey, Mel. And you're like, she's like, I was just in your show yesterday. So you had already, and you do such a wonderful job being social and bringing people together. You know, I started Poshmark just in my corner of my closet by myself. I wasn't going into anyone else's shows. I wasn't really connecting. And through your grace and allowing me to be a part of the Trendy Treasures Train, I actually have like real life friends, which is amazing. We text all the time, and you know, I I love to buy clothes, but I have more clothes than I know what to do with. But I love to like put Posh TV on at the nighttime routine, put Posh TV on when we're cooking, when we're doing all of the things. But you do such a good job of connecting with other people and going in and chit-chatting and supporting. So I totally agree that a lot of us have come to Poshmark to buy or sell and stay because of these connections that we've built, these true friendships.
It was actually on New Year's Eve. I was on this collective gratitude train and I shared it a little bit on there, but I said, like, and we all grew up in it. We all went to middle school, unfortunately, and we know that mean girls exist. And there's mean girls out in the world, but there's also mean girls that are adults. So if you can have a community that you can come to, and they're on Poshmark too, don't get me wrong, like they exist everywhere. But if you can find your community of people that you can connect with, like this is an easy way to do it. If you're not, enjoying somebody's show, or if you're not have maybe the same views isn't the right word, but so you can just swipe out of that show and find a new one to go to. You can find a new group of people to chat with. You can say hello and just, there's nothing like, nobody's gonna be like, oh, stay here. We got her sucked in. It's still, hi, how are you doing? Oh, okay, this group isn't for me. I'm gonna move on. So I've really enjoyed that part of it, that we can make friendships that are genuine, that a club, we'll just call ourselves a little club that we want to be a part of, which is fun.
There's mean people everywhere. There's mean people on Poshmark, but lucky for us, we're not stuck with them. We can swipe out of their show. We can block them if they're an unkind buyer. So you get to really protect yourself. And I know, at least through the circles that we're in, Poshmark has become such a place where we support each other and lift each other up and bring each other to the top. And so if you are out there in the background thinking about like, well, I don't really chat in shows, or I'm afraid to do my first show, or even I'm nervous to buy on Poshmark at all because I don't know what I'm going to get. From my personal experience, 99.9% of the people that I have had contact with have been so warm and supportive, and are the whole reason my business is what it is, both sellers and buyers.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep, absolutely. And I say also, like, if you're a seller and you're in a show and you're comparing yourself to that seller that's been on for 3 years, and you want to have the same view count as them, and you want to be having things bidding up, and you want to be that, maybe swipe out. It might not be the show that you're quite ready for yet, because you don't want to compare yourself. And I'm going to be honest, like I'm guilty of that. I did that in the past, and I got myself to a point, that you're like, oh my gosh, how does so-and-so have 125 people? People are bidding things up to 17, 20, $30. I have the same exact things on my rack. Guys, listen, like there's like, you got to walk up the steps, you got to get yourselves to that. And I'm still there. I've only been doing this since April. So I'm still walking up the steps, of building that. So I just have to know and even sometimes it goes off of where my mental state is that day. If I can sit and, watch a show that's that successful, so I can learn off of it, because we have a learning ground on Poshmark also. Or maybe that day I'm not in a mental state that I'm right, like, that I'm at that I might maybe be hard on myself. So yeah, we're all at different stepping points. I see Nicole saying true, like, she's been there, and she probably knows that there's days sometimes that she needs to swipe out because she might compare herself to somebody else. So try not to do that. We were talking about it's not good for the mental health, but
Poshmark should spark joy in all of the things. So if you are in a show and for whatever reason, if it's just a little, that envy monster popping in, or the vibe isn't for you, just swipe out. You said you started in March, and we all have a day, or you started in April, we all have a day one. A lot of questions are about like, oh my gosh, how do I get started? So I'll give you more of that broad question of, how did you get started? What does it take to get started? And I know you've had a lot of changes from April until now. Tell us kind of the things that you've changed and implemented that have got you to be as successful as you are now.
So when I first started, my daughter is in dance. So we have dance recitals a couple times a year, and we always have to take a rack with us to hang like all their costumes on.
Yeah.
So I literally pulled that rack, out of and I stood in a little office. So our home, we have a big room. So I just started with a small little rack. My room that I'm in we call it like our if I showed it to you right now, you'd be like, oh my dear goodness, Melanie, your life is not under control. But back over on the other side of me, we have like a long credenza desk, which is where I work from home and we do all of our like home office stuff. Over in this corner, like off to my right, is my whole like scrapbooking crafting area. Back behind me is my Posh space. And then my daughter has a little desk like over in this corner that she does all of her crafty stuff. So it's a big room, but there's a lot going on in here. And I just started in front of like my window, and I would do nighttime shows so I didn't have to worry about the sun or anything. And I didn't want it to affect what I had going on with my family, because I really didn't even know at that point what I wanted it to become. And I just started out with a small little rack. And then I was like, oh, I'm getting more stuff. I just went out and sourced. So then I ended up getting another little rack, which is actually the one behind me that I still use. And then I was like, okay, this space isn't working, because I had clothes folding and laying all over the place. So I'm like, I need to come up with an organization system. So I'll show you now. It's still decorated from our 6-month anniversary show yesterday. But I ended up getting this unit that is back behind me. And it's just a multi-level rack. And then I have 4 other racks that I use I know it's crazy, that I use to prep for my upcoming train shows, because every train show sometimes has a different vibe, and I'll source things for different train shows. So I want to make sure they don't get into my regular show mix. But an exciting thing is, so my husband and I are like, okay, something's got to change. Like, I've taken over this entire room. I can't get to my scrapbook table right now, which is a little depressing. And I have tubs of inventory sitting that are literally stacked up to the ceiling. So I believe it's going to be in April. It's going to be March, April. We're actually breaking ground for an outside building. I know. So I'm going to have an outside office that's going to be, so I'm going to leave my home when I work from home, because that's been something that I mentally need to do. But it's also going to be my Posh space as well, which we're really excited about. We were hoping to have it done in January, but I'll just be very transparent. My December wasn't real good on Posh. So I wanted to take a couple of months to figure out how my life would look if I didn't have a good month, or maybe even a good week, or a good 2 months on Poshmark. So I think that's very important, that we have things lined up to where they need to be, instead of just going in, because then we can set ourselves up possibly for failure, or, put ourselves in a bad situation. So my husband and I tapped the brakes on that, and decided that we would break ground in like March or April with it.
So exciting that, it's a lot of us you start with the basics, right? I mean, to sell clothes, you need a device that you can stream from. You can launch items from that device. A place to put that device. So maybe a ring light, not necessary, but you need a device to stream from and launch items from. You need clothing to sell, and a way to organize it. And I think to get started, that's pretty much it. Oh, your live listing flyer, so people can start to put hearts on it and they start to find you. And then listings in your closet to sell. So a lot of us just use like that unlisted number, 999 quantity. But to get started, the hardest part is saying, I'm going to do it, scheduling the show and hitting start the show. I think that's the very hardest thing to do.
It is. And you'll hear people say, oh, I put my stuff in box, or I do the number system, or I do this, or I do that. I do the number system because that's what works best for myself and my brain. Everybody's brains are wired a little bit different. Some people want to see those names written out right in front of them. I felt like I was really slowed down when I was searching for boxes, and I accidentally had 2, I don't remember the names anymore. We'll just say 2 Jens in my show, and their names were very similar, and I mixed up their items. And I was really, really, really upset about it. They were the most forgiving individuals on the planet and sent each other their boxes. It happens, guys. It legit happens. And the best thing that you can hope and pray for in situations like that is that they help you through it, and they did. They helped me through it. They both gave me 5 stars and they both left me comments. Like they knew I was like almost in tears about it, but I was like, okay, let me come up with a system that works better for me. And then Lisa, I was like, Lisa, tell me about this number thing. Walk me through it. And this is where the support system is amazing. Lisa sent me a message and said, this is how I do it. This is how to set up your listing. And I did it. And the first time that I did the number system, I was nervous, but I was like rocking and rolling and like pushing things along. And I have a rack beside me that I put all my things on as I'm going, and I just keep moving. It's a big old rack, so it has room for lots for the train shows and stuff. And then sometimes if it's a really crazy show, I'll be like, give me 1 second. I'll go over, grab a whole stack of it and move it over to another rack. But yeah, so that's what works for me. And like you said, I didn't have a scale at first. I wasn't weighing things. And I got that little flag from Poshmark. So I invested in a scale. Like I said, I bought my little numbers that you can get out on, Amazon. I got my little numbers, and then I wanted bags. Yep, we have the same numbers. I actually have 2 sets of numbers just in case I don't have time to bag things up between shows. Because today I'm hoping to have everything completely shipped and out the door before my show tonight. But if not, I have a backup set of numbers. I've realized after doing train shows, I needed a backup set of numbers. Your bags, it's wonderful. We can get all of our ground supplies, but sometimes they're slow coming into us. I have backup poly mailers. I have not backup boxes, but I keep boxes. I recycle. I believe in, trying to keep our earth green. So I will recycle if I can recycle. If things are sent to me in a plastic bag, I will try to reuse that plastic bag. So I started very minimal and I worked my way up to that. And when I first started, we were doing priority mail. So it was really easy just to walk into the post office and grab those boxes. Now we've had to change a little bit. So if you're a new seller out there, you might be thinking, all right, well, how do I get my ground supplies? It'll take a little bit, but you'll get them. Get your request in and they'll come. But buy yourself some poly mailers. That's the best probably advice that we can give with that. So
I heard that do what works for you, right? There's no right way. If you want to screenshot everything, if you want to use the number system, if you want to write numbers on a box, I know sometimes I even see people that have tags on everything and they'll just write the name on the tag. Truly try out a couple things, see what works for you. And I also heard from you and saw in the chat, we are human and we are going to make mistakes. Again, there's that 99% of people who are kind. And if it's the 0.01% that's not, it's going to hurt for a second. But the 99% is going to fill up your stats with much better reviews. So breathe in, breathe out, all is well.
Yep, that's right. Yeah, I just sent out a damaged item to somebody. Guys, I had no idea. It had a rip like down the seam, and they sent me a picture of it and was just like, can I just pop into your next show and grab an item? Yeah, absolutely. Come on in. I said, or, same thing. I'll open up a claim for you. And this is where my grace comes from. Like giving each other grace, but allowing yourself to be able to receive grace as well is so huge. We are so hard on ourselves sometimes. So just know that you're human, so are your shoppers, so that's all you have to say is, I'm so sorry, I made a mistake. Let's fix it. How can we fix it? And usually as soon as you start that, I one time had an item that I received that was the incorrect item. And I got a little bit of a defensive response from the seller, and I was a little zinged on it. And I thought, I will never do that. Like we are all human and we're going to take the chance of making a mistake. So then it made me a little reserved that if I receive something that's damaged or something that's not okay, just not to say something. And I thought, I don't want my shoppers to feel that way. Yeah. I want my shoppers to know that they can come to me if I make a mistake, and I will do my best to make it right. Because I was on the flip side of that now I don't want to reach out and let a seller know that if something was missing or something was damaged. So just always think that, like, how would you want to be treated in the same situation? So
that's the golden rule. Absolutely. I try to, and it can sting a little bit. Sometimes when people like open a case or they want to return, or you feel like, if it's a larger purchase, it can sting a little bit to say, oh, I really don't want that return, or, oh, I really don't think that rip was there. So to take a step back and to just think, if I was that buyer or if I was that seller, I am that seller, how would
Yeah.
I want to be treated in that situation? You can't control other people. You can't act in a way to react to other people. You have to act in a way that's true to yourself and let other people do what they're going to do, because you just got to let them.
Yeah.
Nothing you're going to do, no matter how many hours of anxiety you waste thinking about it, it's not going to change
Yeah.
the other person. So you just do you, boo.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I know that we said we weren't going to answer questions as we
Go for
go.
it.
But if you don't mind, because I transitioning a little bit, I just saw that somebody asked, like, how do you know the best time to have a show? So I will actually back up a little bit to when I first started shows. So I do work a full-time job during the day. So I was doing all evening shows. So that's how I started out on the platform. But I think you have to find what works best for you. There are some people that have really high energy shows that sell in the evenings. That's where their golden ticket is. That's where they fit in. So it's all about finding that community that you fit in with. And I've slowly started transitioning into doing more morning shows, because that's where I know that's where I'm a little bit more comfortable at. I still love my evening shows and I love my evening people. So don't y'all be like, all right, we're checking out of her. I still love it. But if I had a choice during my week when I'm scheduling my shows to do a morning or an evening show, I'm going to do a morning, because that's where I find, thank you, Diane. I know you do. Diane hangs with me while she's at work. But that's where I sort of like chill. I drink my coffee. I hang out with my girls. My evenings, I felt I was doing like one of these numbers, and at the end of my full-time work job, that's not what I wanted to do, friends. So, but if you love that and that fuels you and you want that really high energy at the end of the day, do your evening shows, do your shows in the middle afternoon. You can even do those high energy in the morning. Don't let me tell you can't be high energy in the morning, because sometimes I am on those too. But you just really have to work or find what works for you and what viewers you're attracting that work for you and feed your soul and feed your business. So, and sometimes it's not all just about feeding your business friends. Sometimes it's about feeding your soul also, and like where you find your joy in your shows. So you could have an evening show that you sell 200 items, but if it was a show that you're literally just flying through and not really feeling it, you might want to rethink, your why.
There's no one right answer. Again, I always think of it like they say Michelangelo was in the stone and you just had to carve it to find it. So like your success is in there, but you're going to have to chip away at some of the pieces that don't work. And I had the exact same experience. I did Wednesday nights at 7 p.m. when I first started. And there were many days that I went downstairs crying because I'm like, I didn't sell anything. You have to try it to know it doesn't work, but you don't know that it works or it doesn't work until you try it. And then I saw you guys chatting there. I think the most important thing is once you find something where you have a bit of an audience, whether they're just chatting, even if they're not buying, using that time consistently, at least for a couple weeks, so your buyers know like, oh, she's on this day and this time, mental no, I want to go back and see them. So consistency.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. And I see people saying, consistency, learning as you go, like absolutely, absolutely. And what I do is, because I'm work full time outside of my home, and sometimes my kids schedule change. What I always tell people is, when I'm getting ready to do a live show, I always have my next show scheduled. So I don't do a live show without my next show being scheduled, because I want to be able to tell people when to find me again. So like last night, we had the Trendy Treasures Train, and I was sure to let people know, if you click on those 3 dots, you're going to be able to find my next couple shows coming up. Tonight, when I do my train show, I'm not going to end my show until I make sure that they know, if they click on those 3 dots, they're going to be able to know when to find me again. So I used to always do Tuesday evenings at 7:30. I can't do that consistently every week anymore. I do work a full-time job, so my mornings that I'm able to do my shows are not consistent. So I just always make sure that they know that I do schedule my shows in advance. And when you click on those 3 dots, make sure they know to flag them, because they can then go in to my saved shows and find you.
A couple things floating around. Kara asked a question way back about shows. So do you think it's better to do shorter, more frequent shows, or less frequent, longer shows?
That is a really, really good question. Because I've seen the benefits of both. So I tried something new last Sunday, and I've never been on a Sunday afternoon before. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to give myself a schedule. I'm going to be on for this period of time because I want the exposure. I want people to know that I'm on Sunday afternoon, especially if I'm going to consider doing this. I cannot do Sundays during the summertime, friends. We camp. We're full-time permanent campers, not full-time, but we permanent camp. Sundays, I'm coming home, I'm getting laundry done. So I'm not going to do a Sunday during the summer. But this time of year, it actually works really good for me, but I've never done it before. So this past Sunday, I was like, I'm allotting 3 hours. I'm going to get on for 3 hours. I'm going to get the exposure, going to do a couple of giveaways. If I sell 5 items, it's all right. Next time I might sell 10. It actually ended up being a really good day. So I was happy I did it. I've never done a quick like 1 hour show unless it's on a train. I just find that it's not enough time for me to get on maybe, and not everybody runs giveaways, but I found that it's really not enough time for me to get on and bundle up my people and take my time with them. Now, train shows, we're rocking and rolling, friends. We're all pre-measured. We have our racks ready to go. It's a different game during a 1 or 2 hour train show. But if we're asking from like a regular show standpoint, I wouldn't do just a 1 or 2 hour show. I want to make sure that I'm going to get on and give my people more of me and more of my time. And one of my sayings, I always say, I'm here for you. I might be here for me because obviously I want to sell and I want to make a little bit of money. Let's get real. But I'm here for you. So I'm not going to jump on for an hour and say, nah, sorry, you bought one thing, you don't have time to bundle. I'm going to give you time to bundle. If you say I didn't have time to bundle, I'm extra larges. I'm going to be like, give me a minute. I'm going to grab my extra larges. I'm going to pull them down. I'm going to go through and I'm going to say, just let me know, run or measure. Let's try to bundle you up. I can't do that if I'm only giving them an hour during my regular shows. I make sure also when I schedule my regular shows that sometimes during my morning shows, Diane will tell you, I'll be like, all right, guys, you only got me for another 30 minutes. Yeah. I got to go. But at that point, I've already been on with them for a couple hours. So I won't jump on and just do a regular show if I can only give my people an hour.
Yeah, and I think there's two sides to that coin. When I started, my shows were 40 minutes because those 40 minutes were torture because I was standing there by myself. So it's okay to hop on for 20, 30, 40 minutes. And when you're ready to get off, honestly, you can hop on for 10 minutes. And if you're not feeling it, it's your show. Hop off, right?
Absolutely.
At this time, especially since I do morning shows, like I've already got my makeup and my hair done and I've already picked out a full outfit. And so it's beneficial for me to do a longer show. And like you said, I have people who come in early, they stay on to bundle. People come in throughout the show, they stay on to bundle. So longer shows work for me with having a cutoff time, which I'm not good at setting boundaries because like you, I'm like, I'm here for you. You want to stay on? Let's stay on. Let's shop all day.
Do what works for you. Yeah. Like Jenny started doing this thrifty 50 and she gets on and she goes through those items. And when she's done with it, she's done. She hops off. And that's what works for her, which is absolutely amazing. And it's fun. So yeah, like Lisa said, do what works for you. I've had shows where my second show that I ever did, your first show, you come off this adrenaline rush and it's so exciting. And you have people in supporting you that wanted to support you in your first show. And then the second show, it was like, wah. So I didn't want to push through some painfulness. So I thought, time is very valuable. All of our time is very valuable. So don't make yourself stand in front of a camera if me, myself, and I are on the show. If you want to get practice and sometimes you have to push through and be uncomfortable to get comfortable, if that makes sense. So if you need to talk to yourself and your husband and your kids and whoever you talked into getting on and watching you to get comfortable, do it. Because I just see that Nicole said, like, I'm comfortable, but not forever. Like, the only way that you can get comfortable is to work through those uncomfortable moments. And make your mistakes with the number system or doing boxes or whatever your system is while you have 5 people versus 50. So go ahead and get that out of the way.
Yes.
Because it's a lot easier when you have five.
And
But
it's like the
yeah.
atomic habits too, where, if you say that I'm going to do 100 push ups, you're like, well, I'm never going to do 100 push ups, so why do one? But if you go on and say, like, okay, today I'm going to do a 30-minute show, I'm going to stay on at least 30 minutes, and people are
Yeah.
buying, stay on for 3 hours, right? So just set that little
Yeah.
goal for yourself that's really easy and accomplishable, or say, I'm going to stay on until I sell one item. And then after you sell that one
Right.
item, you're like, oh, I sold something, let's keep going.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and like baby steps, it's the whole baby steps. If you would have told me back in April that I would be on back to back train shows, I would have been like, yeah, not for a while. Like, I'm not in that league yet, and here you are. Like, you build what you want to build, or I shouldn't say you build what you want to build, but what you build is what your product is going to end up being.
You are a wife, a full-time job worker, and a
Mhm.
full-time mama to 3 kiddos. Your schedule is already full. And
Yeah.
so Poshmark also takes a lot of time on it. But outside of Poshmark, there's sourcing and there's shipping that also needs to be done. So I know
Yeah.
Kara had a question, or Kathy had a question about like kind of sourcing and what kind of sizes do you carry.
Mhm.
Even when you get started, do you carry
Mhm.
all sizes? And then Kara had asked
Mhm.
about the shipping side of it, like what's a good
Yeah.
size bag to order.
Mhm.
But maybe you can cover all of that, and just like, what does it look like for Mel to be ready from sourcing to setup to show to shipping?
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely a time management. Definitely a time management. So I have certain days that I source. I have my local Goodwill has sale days. So every single Tuesday I'm sourcing, whether it's over my lunch break. My daughter has cheerleading on Tuesday evenings. So I go for 2 hours while she cheers. If my husband's able to take her to cheer, I will go right after work. So Tuesday, I no ifs, ands, and buts. I'm going to source on Tuesday unless something has me down and out or something else. So yeah, I know. And then another local shop on Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays, they have 75% off days or a certain tag on those 3 days. So I always try to go on either Thursday or Friday to catch those 75%. So those are my sourcing days. I'm not going to just go out on a Monday, Wednesday, Saturday. Like, I have specific days that I source. So that's huge because sourcing is a big part of the business. And I, at first, was having a hard time know when to work that into my schedule. So now I have that scheduled, which helps out tremendously. And when I go and source, guys, I'm loading up. I'm not going and getting 5 or 6 items like I'm usually up, because I have found the places that I know when I walk in there, I'm going to find, in Jenny's words, golden nuggets. I'm going to find items that my shoppers love. And I'm not just buying a $1 item that might sit on my rack stale for a year. Even though we can get to what to do with maybe some stale rack items in a few minutes. But yeah, so, and then I have also found help with my packaging and my shipping. I use my my husband runs my packages for me. My son's girlfriend helps me package up. So, I use, and if you don't have that available to you, obviously you can't use that, but I ask for help when I need it. Start to know your customers. Sorry, I'm like answering Kara's question real quick. You start to know your customers. You start to know what they're looking for. I'm going to use tonight as an example. Lisa and I are both on the Cozy Cocoa Express. The conductor told us cozy, fun, so I'm looking for cozy, fun stuff. I'm not going to put a business shirt, or a boho shirt onto my rack for tonight, just to be honest. So if you're going to come in looking for boho items tonight, I'm going to tell you, like, we're doing all like cozy vibes, might have some sweaters that you can wear into the office and stuff like that. I'm not going to tell my whole rack to you. You have to come see. But you end up getting in a groove. You end up finding what, and it takes a little bit. It takes a little bit. I used to keep everything behind me, and I would pull from the same stuff for all of my shows. Now, I sort of have a little bit of crazy. Like I said, I have a couple different racks sitting around. We have a PJ show coming up on the Trendy Treasures Train. So I have a whole bin sitting beside me of PJs and cozy things for that train.
To go back to, like, do you have to have all sizes even when you start? I don't think so. And that kind of goes into Kara's question too of like, what do you know to list and what do you know to do in your shows? Again, it's going to be dependent on you. Some people are live show sellers only, and they do everything in their shows. Lululemon, Johnny was. Some people like just will have a couple star items to kind of attract people into their shows, and then the rest of it is more of just the premium items rather than the designer items. But I mean, for me, I used to pull old things down from our eBay store, like the oldest items, and that's just what I ran in my show. So maybe it was men's, maybe it was women's, maybe it was extra large, maybe it was extra small. I don't think you need that to start. And even now, I don't curate. I separate by sizes, but I don't curate by sizes. I pick what I like. If there's a theme, I go with the theme, and whatever ends up there ends up there. It's like a beautiful roll of the dice.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, my first show that I started out, I had from size small to size extra large, and I had people coming in asking if I had plus size, and I just said, no, I'm so sorry, I don't carry plus size. And then I did start pulling a couple in. My plus size inventory is still very small. I have some that if my girls are coming in, because I do have some plus size girls that come in and shop with me, I'm starting to know their style. So I have also told them I'm not going to go out and source a plus size item just because it's a plus size item. I'm going to source an item that is my vibe, what I feel is a good quality for you. That's what I'm going to put on my rack. I'm not going to grab something just because it's in that size category. So I'm just honest and transparent with my people. But no, you don't have to carry all sizes. If you want to carry just small mediums, maybe in your title of your show, put small medium show. You will have people that might pop in because they go into shows where they feel like everything is larges and extra larges, and they're looking for smalls and mediums primarily. So I would do what works for you. I don't think there's anything the matter with having just one size or having a wide range of sizes. I think it's what works for you. And I know we were talking about like live items versus listed items. Guys, Ashley's favorite find, she said to me sometimes, list the basics in your closet too. Not everybody comes out onto Poshmark into closets looking for your, I don't even know what to use as an example. We'll say your Johnny was for $400. Sure. Not everybody comes looking for that. Sometimes people come looking for their basics. So what I started doing is if something was on my rack for, I'm going to say 2 weeks, because in a 2-week time, I'm probably going to have 4 or 5 shows, maybe more than that. It depends. So if it's back on my rack for 2 weeks, I'm pulling it and I'm listing it in my closet. I've already done that and sold something within like 1 or 2 days. But it sat back on my rack for 2 weeks and I showed it for 5 times. Yeah. So don't hesitate maybe to list those basics in your closet sometimes, because sometimes those basics are what people are looking for. And like I said, I'll move them out. And if I don't move them out, I'll pop them into my tray during a live show and maybe discount them a little bit, and that will get them rolling as well. So I did that last night with some things. I'm like, all right, these have been sitting for about a month or two, maybe 2 months in my closet. Let's see if the girls want them. They wanted them last night, guys. So you just never know. We will joke around that we will show a shirt 10 times and we show it one time and they bid it up to $30. And I'm like, I couldn't sell this for $5 for the past 5 shows. So you just never know. And I know Be Kind Jenny and I always talk about that. She's like, girl, did you see that shirt that I showed tonight? That went for $30. I've been trying to sell that crazy thing for 2 months. But yeah. Yes, but anyway.
It just really goes down to like being your own business. So like when we're sourcing, we're specifically sourcing for live and for eBay. So if we have, or Poshmark too, but if there's items that have usually like a $30 or higher average sale price, we usually save those for eBay. But also we take down things from eBay and put them in the show. So you can certainly list both. I think that there's people who only shop shows because they like the aspect of it. So it's good to have items that are eye-catching, but also you can't have 30 eye-catching items. Like I need a graphic tee or a black t-shirt or a good pair of jeans to go with it. So mixing those basics in the rack. But also there's some people that don't like live shows. They just shop the closet. And if they're bundling, say they still pay shipping one time. So if you have a couple items that they can bundle from their closet into something that they already want, that is going to be great too. So the more exposure that you can get all over the place works for you. So with the time that you have and with the intention that you have, just find a way to get your items to the people that want it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Everybody's different. So, catering to different likes. And a lot of times when we sell things out of our closet, people are buying just one item,
Yeah.
so they don't care about, bundling, like maybe some live shows do. So just always keep that in mind whenever you list. But yeah, there are sometimes that I will pick something up whenever I'm outsourcing with the sole intent of listing it because I
Yeah.
know what its worth is and I know that
Yeah.
it's going to move out of my closet better than what it's going to move during a live show. So, and just be honest, a lot of my live shows are low start live
Yeah.
shows. So I know sometimes that I have to be willing to take that risk of an item maybe going out the door for like $5 to $8. So if it's an item that I source that I'm not comfortable with that, I'm going to list it in my closet because sometimes I will source an item higher.
Yeah.
So you've got to look at that also. You never want to take a loss.
And
Never.
I do half off closet items, which maybe they
Mm.
could sell higher somewhere else. But same thing, like if you're in my show and you've already bought things on the show and I can give it to you half off, or if it's like an older item, that's awesome. And you said talking about, rotating through older items, you will get a lot of people that come back and see you. And so I think it is good to keep your rack refreshed, move some of the older things like into a different rack and rotate
Yeah.
them so that way, because it takes the right person in your show
Hmm.
at the right time. You have to be showing something that's their vibe, in their size, and at the price point they like. Okay. So for
Yes.
someone to
Yeah.
buy something is literally like the lottery every time. So if somebody
Hmm.
bought something, you showed it, like you said, 5 times and nobody bought it, put it away for a little bit, bring it back out, show it again. Maybe the right person will be there. And like you said, at the
Yeah.
end of the day, you've probably made your money on other items. So you could just put it in your
Yeah.
clearance show. And then if you started at $3, people like, ooh, for $3, and then it'll get bid up to
Yeah.
30.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and we always joke around like we do girl math. So when I go out and
Yeah.
source, sometimes I don't look at like, okay, well, this shirt cost me $6 and this one cost me $2. When I get in my car, guys, every single time after I source, I will look at the dollar amount that I spent and divide it by how many numbers or how many pieces I got. And I do my girl math that way. So if I averaged, and I'm just going to throw this out there to you, this is very low, but say I average $1 an item, which is unheard of. That's why I threw that out there. But it's not unheard of, but so if it averages out to $1.27, I know that those 55 items in the back of my car, if I sell them, for double or triple $1.27, but that's how I do my girl math. So I don't look at that one item that I spent $6 on it and I need to get at least 24 or 30 out of it. I don't do that.
The question about the mannequin was, do you put it on a mannequin to sell it when you're listing? And then we can talk a little bit about setup too.
Yeah.
There was a question about how do you double device? So maybe you can tell us like how you are set up for success for your show as well.
Sure. So when I list, I know that some people, Lisa has a beautiful room area that she does all of her listing. And I think you lay things flat, if I remember correctly. So I put stuff on was this the right question? Am I answering this right for listing? Is this
Yeah,
what
so they
was
were saying,
asked?
do you put it
How
on
to
a
take pictures?
mannequin, like the first picture, or do you not put it on a mannequin if you are listing?
I'll do both. So I look at the piece of clothing and what it is. If it's something that has a low back on it, I'm sorry, like a longer back on it, shorter front, I'll put it on my mannequin. If I hang it up, I cannot get good pictures of it.
Yeah.
If I lay it flat, you'll see that back behind it. I use a photo app to remove backgrounds and to make things look pretty. I did start using the AI generated models just because it's nice to be able to see that on an actual person. We know it's an AI person, but on a person. So I will do both. I will put things on my mannequin and I'll just hang stuff on my rack behind me. I don't know if you guys see, but I'll just take something and I'll hang it on my rack. I'm giving you guys a visual. I'll hang it on my rack. I'll separate my stuff out, get, things out of the way. And I'll just even take it hanging on my rack. This is really cute, by the way.
It is cute.
But yeah, so I'll just hang things on my rack, use my ring light, work with my lighting, and then I use my photo app to remove the background. So all you're seeing is the image. Every so often I'll add a background on that image, just depends. But I'll either use my mannequin or I'll just say, I don't lay flat because I don't have an area for that. Yeah, Chat GPT is a great one too. When I have my new space, I'm actually going to have like a fold out table that I'm going to be able to use to lay things flat. But right now I use this area to take my pictures. So that's what I do. Yeah, I think mine's actually called photo room, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
I would have to look at that. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's photo room, which works out great. But yes, the mannequin, it's time consuming. I won't put it on the mannequin unless I have to, because it is time consuming to take it on and off. My things are already on hangers. So if I can just take that hanger, hang it up, get a couple photos, flip it around. If it's something that has like a fun sleeve on it, the more photos that you have. Oh, and get those measurements in your listings, friends. I don't know how many times I've had people say, oh, well, what's the pit to pit on this? And by the time I respond and put the pit to pit in, they've moved on. They bought something else. So take your time, get those measurements in your listing, because then they don't have to ask those questions. They can just buy it. When I started getting more pictures and my size measurements in my listings, I started selling more out of my closet. Consistency, keep those algorithms up. I can never say that word. But keep it up. Even if you list one item a day, list one item a day about the same time every day, because then it keeps that up. Lisa's like the queen of listing, so she'd be able to answer. I took a lot of my advice of listing, and that has been life-changing for me with selling things out of my closet, is staying consistent with it and making sure that first picture looks good. Make sure it's eye-catching, so yeah. We want to buy something that looks good. We're going to keep on swiping if it, a bad, picture's taken and we can't tell if it's purple, pink, or, green. Like it's
in a world where clothing is plentiful, you have to have a reason that someone's going to click on your photo. So agree, that first photo looking nice, whether it's a mannequin or just a nice flat lay photo, or a stock photo, I think is fine. And a lot of people complain like they asked for measurements and then they didn't buy it. Well, like you said, by the time you've gotten the measurements, I've found 3 other of them, maybe even at a better price, especially on a place like Poshmark where you can't return for fit. It's so important to have those measurements. And then for devices, I'm a device queen. I usually stream from Instagram on my iPad. I stream from my phone for the video, and then I have my computer on a stand next to me, and that's what I usually read the chat from, and then I launch my listings from. So that's the setup that works for me. The device that you start the show on is the one where the camera is going to show up, but then every other device you'll just see a blank screen, so you can do your launching of the listings or chatting or whatever you want. So what does your setup look like?
Yep. So I have my phone in front of me. I actually have a ring light, which I have to work on my lighting, friends. That's something I just said to my husband today. I said, don't think I'm a crazy nut. I said, I don't have any shows scheduled until 5:00 tonight. I said, but I need to work with my lighting. So I'm going to hit record on my camera and work through some things. I have a ring light right in front of me, and my ring light has a stand for my phone. So that's what's right in front of me. And then same as Lisa, I run all of my items, all of my giveaways, everything from a laptop. But it's also a tablet. So my keyboard detaches from it. So I've already tried to do my live show from this, but I just don't have a stand big enough. And I ended up figuring out that this works better for me to run my items off of it. And then I always screenshot when my show's over, friends. If you haven't done that or you don't know that, screenshot. As soon as you end your show, screenshot that so you know what you're selling, and all that. That's how you can do your breakdown. Lisa has I think you did an Instagram post on that, but it's important to do that. But yeah, so I just have those 2 devices. I've considered switching to a full tablet. I think it might be something with my camera, with my lighting. So that's what I'm going to try to figure out today. But yeah, so that's it. I have an Android. So don't think like, okay, well, do I only have to have an iPhone or an iPad or this or that? I have an Android, friends, and then my computer is, of course, a Windows computer. It's not an Apple. So don't think you have to go out and buy, real expensive devices, because you don't. And you can run it. If you only are a 1 device person, that's okay. You can do everything off your phone. Like I've always been like, oh, excuse me, I'm going to get up in your business. And that's how I started. I started only on my phone. And then I was like, redeemed goodies. I don't know if you guys know Jen. She's great. She's like, girlfriend, get yourself a little computer. I'm like, well, I have a little computer. She's like, then why aren't you using it? I was like, I don't know, Jen. She's so funny. I love her. So she'd be like, well, set up your computer. And I was like, so I can have it up on both? And she's like, yeah. So this was during a live show. So I turned on my computer and I switched my camera to my computer. And then Jen's like, where'd you go? And I'm like, oh no, I see myself on my computer. She's like, oh yeah, we see your ceiling. Like, I'm serious. It was like, but we worked through it. And I ended up realizing like, okay, keep my camera on my phone, my computer for the administrative side. So have an admin side of your live shows.
I totally recommend not adding things to your business until you need them. That's a great tip. I am the queen of spreadsheets, and so I track a lot of stats. But yes, comparison is the thief of joy. So if you are at least screenshotting that last picture and seeing your own growth, it'll be you comparing yourself to you to know that you are at least doing better than you did at your last show. And you had talked about your average cost of goods to know what you want to sell them for. Y'all, it works the other way too. Like maybe you sell one sweater for $50 and maybe you sell one t-shirt for $5, or vice versa. Maybe the sweater you thought that was going to sell for $50 sold for $5 and the t-shirt sold for $50. At the end of the day, do the same average on those numbers and just know what your average sale price per item is. And I think that's a lot easier in the show. So like, it doesn't matter what this one sold for, because at the end of the day, it's going to be one average price per item.
Absolutely. That is amazing advice. Yes, I agree. As far as seeing comments, so my eyes aren't real great. So I look at comments on both. If I notice that somebody tagged me and wants me to see something, your comments on your computer are longer. You'll see more. So yeah, Lisa can probably show you. On your phone, you're just going to see probably the last 3 or 4. On your computer, you're going to see a lot more. Yes, it's tough with light in your eyes. So, and like I said, I have bad eyes. I'm always throwing my glasses on. So it's easier for me to read comments on my computer. But if there aren't that many of us and our chit chat isn't like, then I'll read it. You know, like right now I'm reading it on my phone because you guys are right in front of us. But I normally, if my attention needs to be grabbed, I'll look at my computer because there's more of a history there.
Feel free to hit Melanie up. I know she's super helpful in her shows. Hit me up. We're both on Instagram. Melanie's GracefulKnit on Instagram. I'm Upstate Threadhead on Instagram. We can in-depth talk about more things. Before I do close it out, Mel, is there anything that you wanted to say that we didn't get to organically that you'd like to tell the people?
No, just to thank you guys. This community has just been really wonderful and beautiful. I know I didn't get a chance to really talk about my why with the Trendy Treasures Train and why I started that train. But just so you guys know how much we love and appreciate you. The Trendy Treasures Train was created because I wanted a group of women that supported each other and loved on each other. And that's what that train has become. So I appreciate you guys supporting that as well. But yeah, just thank you. It's been beautiful. So thank you, Lisa. I appreciate you. Yeah, like I said, Lisa and I sort of hopped on about the same time, and I reached out to her and said, hey, like at first we said, like, do we want to do a co-hosted show together, or do we want, and we're like, yeah, let's figure this out. And it took us a couple weeks or maybe even like a month or two. And I came to her, I was like, Lisa, I want to do this train and I want you on board with me. And she's like, okay. Like none of us really knew, like we watched them here and there, but we pulled in some girls like Jenny and Sarah and Jill, J. Marie, and said, you guys want to do this with us? And they were sort of helped and guided and mentored us kicking that train off. And I know some people might be like, oh, it's 6 months. It hasn't been a year, but 6 months was like a huge feat for us. We're almost up to like 1,200 likes on that flyer. We're keeping the rooms full and it's fun. So thank you. We appreciate you guys enjoying it and loving it along with us. So
yes, you wanted it to be a train where we could help each other grow and really make those connections on Poshmark. And I, as a train conductor myself, as being on other trains, there's no group that is more special than the Trendy Treasures Train. There's anybody who's ever been on a train is in the main group chat, and then Mel starts different group chats for each train, and so it's like there is this constant conversation between the girls about anything and everything life and reselling related. So whatever you set out to accomplish, you have achieved and well beyond exceeded. And in 6 months, look at what you've accomplished, and I cannot wait to see what another 6 months can bring.
I know. It's fun. Yeah, guys, it's so funny. Like, we were sharing pictures of our kids in Halloween costumes, and then we're like, oh, like we didn't even, and it just started this whole thread. Like, that's, that's where we are. And we had this whole like day long conversation of sharing pictures of animals and Halloween costumes. And that's just where we are. And it is so genuine and fun and authentic.
Also in our group chat, just to give you guys a little behind the scenes, we have Jenny Be Kind, her chicken parm. We have her gold dicky. We have her thing with the eye masks on under. We have Jill showing gold thongs. We got, we just got it in the group chat.
Yeah. And it's a safe space. Like, we don't share those pictures unless we have permission to. So it's a safe space for us to share pictures.
I know you were doing Tuesday night shows, so you can find Mel on a Tuesday evening show still, or were you Xing those out?
Yeah, I here and there I'm doing not as many, to be honest with you. So the best thing that I can advise is to click on my three dots or go in and look at my upcoming shows. As of right now, oh goodness. All right. So I'm on the Cocoa Express tonight from 5 to 7, which I'm excited about. It's a new train that we're helping launch today. And then on Sunday, I'm on a train with Fashion for Finds, which is a rapid fire $3 start train, guys. And it is going to be crazy and fun and fast. And I hope that you guys will come into that. It's the very first time that I'm ever doing one of these shows. So if you guys want to come in and support me on it, that would be amazing. And I can't remember what my show time is. My schedule, everything sort of mixing together. And then I will be doing a regular show on Wednesday morning. So my next regular show is Wednesday morning outside of a train show.
This is the infamous Trendy Treasures Train. Y'all are not going to want to miss it. Do put a heart on that one right now so you never miss one. The next one is our PJ show, and then there's an unthemed one coming up.
Yeah, we're doing like a random express sort of like clothing and random items in February. So yeah, those are the next two coming up. And then of course I'm on the Monday morning commute coming up as well, the first Monday. We had to plug that, Lisa. Coming up the first Monday in February, so you can catch me on that as well.
You are here on the Posh Podcast. If you never want to miss another Posh Podcast, put a heart on that one. They do happen at different days and different times, but depending on the guest. So some mornings, some evenings, some weekends, put a heart on it. Up next, I have Miss Rena Slancy coming up on Tuesday, and the following week I have Kristen selling Sin City coming up on Monday. And I put these on YouTube, so if you came in late or you want to meet other friends, we've had Tracy Joy, we've had Sarah P31 Home, we had J. Marie Thrifts, Jill, we've had oh goodness, we had Curated by Rach. We had so many good friends so far. So you can go on YouTube, Upstate Threadhead, and you can find all of the replays of these ones. Well, I hope we didn't take too much of your work today, Melanie. The conversation was too good. I appreciate all of the conversation, and it's easy to be our gatekeepers of information so we can be the only ones who are successful. So thank you not only for taking the time, but being so generous with the information that you're willing to share to help everyone as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Love you guys. Love you, Lisa. Thank you so much.